everyone, I'm Rajeshri. A very warm welcome to you all in today's episode, and a huge thanks for being with me in my new experimental musical journey. Today, as the title suggests, we are going to talk about the legend of all time, especially in English classical music genre, the prolific composer, hugely loved musician, Ralph Vaughan Williams, and his association with the English folk tunes, rather his contribution to revitalize it and the inspiration he took in order to create his compositions. And to talk about this particular topic, I thought it's best to start the episode what Vaughan Williams actually thought about it. Let me just read out a couple of lines. He said, "If the roots of your art are firmly planted in your own soil, and that soil has anything individual to give you, you may still gain the whole world and not lose your soul." These few lines he said whilst concluding his lecture about national music. He genuinely believed in this. And that was the reason he went on collecting the beautiful folk tunes from the highways and byways of English countryside, from one pub to another pub, from one remote village to another little hamlet. And he himself used to think that Bela Bartok, the Hungarian composer, was one person who knew the most about folk tunes in their times. And he mentioned, in order to define folk music in one of his books where he collected the folk tunes, where he said that in Bartok's words, folk melodies are a real model of the highest artistic perfection. Bartok thinks they are the masterpieces on a smaller scale, just like Bach's fugue and Mozart's sonata on a larger scale. Vaughan Williams even wanted to emphasize the meaning of masterpiece in terms of folk tunes. So he borrowed Virginia Woolf's definition. Masterpieces are not single or solitary births. They are the outcome of many years of thinking in common, of thinking by the body of the people, so that the experience of the mass is behind the single voice. Yes, I do think Vaughan Williams was that single voice. That is why he went to the mass. Yes, which mass we are talking about? It is the farm workers who sang these tunes whilst working in the fields, in the barn, in the harvest homes. It is the voice of those milkmaids whilst working in the cowsheds. These are the songs of those factory workers at their machines. The coal miners above and below the ground. The women doing their washing and sweeping the floor. Families gathered around the fireside. The drinkers in the pub. The nursemaids while nurturing the infants. The delivery boys going down the streets. the children on their way to school. Fishermen was fishing in the sea, ballad singers in the city streets or in the country fair. And Vaughan Williams thinks that these tunes, they contain the nucleus of all more developed music. They affected all great composers. They affected the styles of all great composers. And these are such a sure index of national temperament. They're beautiful in themselves. They can be sung solo or in unison. They were the pop music of the day, or rather the day before. And that says how much he was passionate about folk tunes. This passion kind of started from very childhood. He was fascinated by a folk tune called the Cherry Tree Carol when he was very, very small. Vaughan Williams was born in 1872 in Gloucestershire, but he lost his father at a very early age, and his mother was actually born a Waged in Surrey. So his mother took the children back to the family home, and Broadwoods were their neighbours. John Broadwood was the first man who actually published a collection of English folk tunes and songs in 1843, long before Vaughan Williams was born. And his niece, Lucy Broadwood, actually published another revised collection in the year 1890, adding few more songs into it. So a group of English collectors and composers, Lucy Broadwood, Cecil Sharp, Frank Kidson, Baring Gould, along with Vaughan Williams, relentlessly tried to rejuvenate the folk music of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, and changed and made a distinctive national music of 20th century. Coming to 1903, that was a very important year in Vaughan Williams' life. He went to give a lecture in autumn in a place called Brentwood, where he met two middle-aged ladies who invited him later in the year for a parish tea party. They were the daughters of the vicar of that village, and they said that John Williams might meet some old people who would sing some folk tunes. John Williams was not very interested about it initially, but he went there, and that the next day he met few old people in that party, and next day he met them separately in the pub. Among them there was a 70-year-old man called Charles Potiphar. Charles Potiphar, he noted down 7 songs from Charles Potiphar, but something else was waiting for him that day. It was the road to Damascus moment. Charles Potiphar sang the song Bushes and the Briars for him, and he said to Vaughan Williams, "If you get the words, Almighty will send you a tune." And that was the moment Vaughan Williams understood that he needed to listen to this music at its native environment. And that changed everything for him. For the next 10 years, he went and collected 810 folk tunes. Then, 1905, January, he wrote to his most favorite cousins, Ralph Vaughan, that I'm having the best time of my life. He went to Norfolk and he went to the neighboring village where he went to a pub. He was very lucky that day actually, because the fishermen, they were supposed to go to the sea, but because of the bad weather, they didn't go, and they all gathered in that pub. I would just like to read out the atmosphere of the pub from the book called The Captain's Apprentice by Caroline Davison. And in Davison's mind's eye, she said that I see the snug room of the Tilden Smith pub with a good fire and high-backed wooden benches, where the fishermen sit smoking their clay pipes and drinking small beer. Vaughan Williams steps out of the cold wind and rain into the warmth of the pub. The composer is tall, large-framed, and well-fed. The cut of his clothes and his accent set him apart from the regular drinkers. He is not the kind of figure who can slip into the Tilden Smith unnoticed, however affable he is. He brought a chill into the comfortable atmosphere of the bar as everyone turns their gaze on the stranger. Chatter ceases, singing is silence. Settling down at a table, Vaughan Williams takes out his notebook and pencil and politely asks those present whether they might entertain him with a song or two. But the air is thick with wood smoke and tobacco, the sour tang of old beer, and the aroma of fish and oil emanating from the woolen ganzes and weathered boots. Someone said, "Come on, Duggie, give us a song." Out of the awkward silence, the raw voice of a man advanced in years rises up, singing a melody of such ethereal beauty that influenced Vaughan Williams' composition for the rest of his life. And Norfolk Rhapsody, Sea Symphony, Pastoral Symphony were born from that tune. That day, actually, the tune which influenced him was The Captain's Apprentice. So I wanted to mention these two stories because I thought before we go and explore his work, what work have gone behind all these great compositions which we hear nowadays in the radios, in the TVs, in the concert halls. These are the relentless efforts gone behind these compositions, not only by Vaughan Williams, but with few more people, as I have mentioned. And another lady who is actually completely an unsung hero is Ella Mary Leather, who, again, along with Vaughan Williams and many others, actually went to the gypsies' encampments and in the caravan parks and collected the authentic English tunes. She invited Vaughan Williams and his wife Adeline in 1912 and they went to a caravan park where there was a man called Alfred Price who sang song for them, sitting in the park in front of a caravan on an upturned bucket provided by the gypsies. Vaughan Williams wrote down the tune. Adeline and Mrs. They actually wrote down the alternate lines. So Vaughan Williams this was his passion, and in order to give him a tribute in this episode, so I have decided to play a musical piece which is a combination of 3 folk tunes. One which I have composed myself, and another one which was collected by Vaughan Williams from Essex called The Bold Fisherman. It is an 1820s folk tune. It was very popular among the broadside printers. And the other one is a 2023 March composition by a very young, talented composer and pianist who is my piano teacher, Mr. James Billingham. And I'm very fortunate that I could provide the tune and the sheet music for this particular folk dance in the description box. And what I have done to weave this 1820s tune and 2023's tune, I composed that little short folk tune by myself. So I'll be playing my original tune, the beginning and in the end, and in between to weave these 2 tunes. Just before I go and play the musical piece, I just wanted to share another thing with you all, which I thought is quite important. As I was saying that 1903, 4th of December, when Charles Potiphar sang that song for Vaughan Williams, and Vaughan Williams realized that he was yet to listen to the true folk tune. He was only 31 years old that time. But in 1955, I'm talking about 28th of May, Vaughan Williams wrote a preface for George Chambers' book, Folk Song, Plain Song. And in that, he mentioned few lines, which I thought very important because Vaughan Williams died in the year 1958. So in 1955, Vaughan Williams was like an institution of English folk music genre. And these lines are kind of his realization. So he wrote, "Of course the musicologists cannot altogether ignore the connection between the plain song and folk song, but they have put the cart before the horse and imagine that the music of the people is the debased descendant of that of the church. In their opinion, the written word was impeccable and oral tradition fallible. But in truth, the clerk may make errors in his copying, while the memory of the unlettered countryman is sure." Yes, the unlettered countryman. Their voice was very important to Vaughan Williams because he believed that Beethoven's symphony is in the direct line of descent from a primitive folk song. So Vaughan Williams' compositions are a absolute perfect combination of sophistication with simplicity. That simplicity came from these original folk tunes and the sophistication by his musical education, by his first composition teacher, Hubert Parry. His second composition teacher is Stanford, and Gustav Holst was his fellow student. Their musical exchange of their musical knowledge enriched Vaughan Williams a lot, as he said in one of his books. So with that, I will go ahead and play the little musical piece which I have composed. I'm playing both the Bold Fisherman and the English folk tunes in a little bit improvised version, as I always do, to put my own style into it. And let's see, hope you all enjoy. Thanks very much for listening. Thank you. Now I'm going to play the Bold Fisherman. So we are taking a flight to 1820s. Now I'm going to play the folk dance tune. So we are back to 2023. Thank you.